Start by saying I moved to Asia the first time in '72. That's 37 years ago. And ever since, I have had visitors, participants, friends told me how westernized Asia would become. And obviously when we start, we walk around the cities, whether it's Dalian or yesterday evening, when we saw the go-go girls there before we went to the reception, or whether we can see the McDonald's signs everywhere. In fact, already 100 years ago, a Japanese princess was wearing Victorian clothes. And this is Japan in its development, this is Harajuku at its worst. And many other things, obviously, have been imported from the West to Asia. But I would argue that we're basically looking at a tip of the iceberg. This is the visible part. Underneath are values, preferences, and further down are deeply embedded assumptions, such, to throw out one example, that in the Greek way of thinking, which is the basis of Western thinking, there is one truth, while in Asia we have the yin and yang. Research has shown two dimensions of cultural behavior where we see huge differences. This is power distance, the old man, the wise man, the hierarchy, the status which is explained by this. And this is the second dimension which I would like to pull out. The individualism on the one hand and the belonging to a group on the other hand. I'm standing in front of you as Hellmut Schütte. If I would be Asian, I would be Schütte Hellmut because I'm first of all a member of my family and only secondly one who is called Hellmut. When we look at these data, we see very distinct clusters. One is Asia, high power distance, and strong belief in groupism or collectivism. And this is the West, and I'm obviously generalizing here, the individual and with low power distance. This is the individual, ego-driven, if you want, the Jack Welch or the John Wayne as CEO. This is somebody who doesn't want to stand out. Yes, he may have better knowledge or be older, but he doesn't want to shout. He is modest, he's patient. When we look at consumer behavior, this comes out of an American textbook on marketing. You bring in a new product, you have some innovators and you have some followers, but it's an even curve. When we look at the same research in Asia, difficult to get going, but once it's going, we see something which is called pack consumerism. You have to be there, because there's a social risk to be alone in Asia. While in the West, we would like to be differentiated from the other. We move away from the crowds, while in Asia, we see this on a daily basis in the open. We want to be together. We also want in Asia to be admired, so therefore we love Louis Vuitton. While need satisfaction can be done somewhere very lonely on the top of a mountain, and I don't even send a postcard to my friends to impress them. So that's one of the reasons why, in terms of consumer behavior, so many luxury products are so successful. This is family life in the Asian context, round table, and several generations. This is the West. The parents, kids are already out of the house. The old people are in nursery homes, and it's a square table, right? This is the board, detached accountants looking at the balance sheet and the P&L. This is a true picture from Toyota. This is the board member in charge of worldwide production, same uniform than the workers, because cohesiveness is what holds Asian companies together. This is the salary structure. The top man earns 250 times as much as the man at the bottom. This is the Asian way of looking at salaries. Numbers range from 1 to 5 to 1 to 10. 10 times as much the top guy earns at the lowest as the person in the lowest level. This is China. Not only confusion, 2,600 years, but 60 years of heavy dose of communism and 30 years of strong dose of capitalism. In other words, totally confused. Not very well researched. We are sort of lost where China is moving. I would, however, argue that whether it's China or the rest of Asia, there is a rediscovery of its own history and its own culture. Asian art is flourishing. Interest in Asian history is growing. Asian fashion is coming back. Asian food has always been there. In other words, we have to realize from the West that Asia is not going to be westernized. Asia is becoming more Asian, growing self-confidence, everything falls in line. And we have also to look at this map rather than the map where Greenwich is at the center of the world. Colonial times are over. And let me end up with a word from an old colonialist, Rudyard Kipling, in 1891, who said already, Asia is not going to be civilized, this is a terrible word, after the methods of the West. There's too much Asia, and she is too old. Thank you.